Hiya, this is Thinking Solo. I'm Ryan DeRusso, a fee-only advisor. Today, we're going to tackle an issue that I'm not sure many in private practice ever even consider: selling the business. One of the biggest holes when I evaluate the finances and plans of therapists or those in self employment is that they consider their private practice to be worthless. Without them in business, they believe that their business isn't worth a dime. I find this problematic for multiple reasons. First, you're leaving your clients in a tough spot. Sure, you might have a list of people they can contact, but you're leaving it up to them to hopefully find someone they like as much as you. And you never know if that's going to be the case or if they're just going to ignore that process entirely. Second, it's taking a sizable asset that you've worked many years on to build and you're simply throwing it away. While you might not want to run a private practice anymore, or you may only want to talk to a few clients a week, simply dumping the business can feel like a physical loss. And for those that could use some more assets at their disposal for a comfortable retirement, it behooves them to get as much out of the private practice as possible. That's why today we're going to discuss selling the private practice. Now let's get started. As we begin this conversation, it's important to understand that selling a private practice isn't something you do overnight. It will take time. Begin planning for it a few years before you're actually ready to step away from the job. Why? Because you need to prepare the business to be sold. Then you have to put the business up for sale, then find a buyer. Oh, and expect to be part of the transition process, which could be another year. The more you are prepared prior to putting a business up for sale, the higher price you may be able to get. The biggest issue in private practice sale is that you're the business and the business is you. Part of the process of selling the private practice is moving you back from the business a bit. There's only so much you can do, but the most essential part is building branding around the business, renaming it if it's under your name, and creating a presence that highlights the therapy business as opposed to your own credentials. Since you're not part of the long-term business plan, you have to remove yourself from it to showcase that can survive without you. This could take a couple years to accomplish. Meanwhile, you need to ensure that all your business accounts are in tip-top shape and your earnings are growing. Then, when you're ready to have to put the business up for sale, this can take some time since you have to work with a broker and lawyer to ensure you're protected in the negotiation process. And then, once you find a seller, which will take a few months to a year, then you have to allow them to do their due diligence. Finally, in most cases, you will likely need to stay on for a year to help them transition. The further you plan this out, the more you can boost earnings and products to encourage a higher sell price, but expect it to take a couple years. For a private practice sale, there's going to be three main buyers that you will potentially attract. First is the new therapist that wants to purchase your business in order to build a client base. They kind of want to fast forward those initial days where there's very few clients. What are these therapists concerned about? Getting clients. They know you're stepping away and that they can start further along in their process if they already have access to 40, 50, 60 clients to help. The benefits of this buyer is you can ensure they practice therapy similar to you. There's also a lot of folks like this out there. You will likely mentor them during the transition process, getting clients comfortable with the buyer and ensuring the therapist practices in a manner that you hope and expect. The downside of this buyer, they're new. They can't afford to take on 2 or 3 times your yearly salary to buy a practice. This means the sale price will be much lower. They will also almost always need to do an installment plan, allowing future profits to pay for the sale, along with interest. Essentially, they will pay you upfront a certain percent of the sale, say 20%. Then they will pay monthly or quarterly payments with interest for the remainder. This is fine if the business continues to function well. But if they struggle, their ability to pay you may also suffer. Make sure there's stipulations in the contract that if they do miss payments, that you have the opportunity to retake the business and resell it again. The second buyer you might see is from a group practice. This, in most cases, is the optimal buyer for a private practice, in my opinion. Why is that? If they have a group practice, there's a record of working with therapists that quit or retire. Second, they have a strategy in place to ensure clients are retained as therapists step away. This ensures that more of your clients will be retained, increasing the potential for the sale. Third, you can naturally incorporate your clients into the practice since the business is used to working with individual therapists at this group level. It's a win, even win situation for both for you, your client, and the group practice. The downside, again, you will need to work with the group as you transition your practice and clients. You might not like having a boss, which will be required during the transition. Finally, it's more difficult for you to dictate the type of care the clients will receive post-merger. The third type of buyer is a national therapy group. Now, these types of buyers will be purchasing a practice or something beyond just the client base. This will require you to have a product that they can use to sell services. Say it's a therapy process, or it's a technical tool that eases the process. In these cases, the price of the sale could be much larger. But again, it almost always requires a product beyond just your simple client practice. Going through the sale process can be somewhat shocking. That's because you have to open up the innards of your business to the buyer. For some, this can prevent them from moving forward. The simple aspect of having to show what they've done and how they've done it for years is enough to scare them away. That's also why it's important to start the process early. It gives you time to ensure the books are clean and professional before you have outside eyes looking at it. There's no more back of the napkin accounting. Typically during the sale process, a buyer will look at the last 3 years. This will require having 3 years of strong growth, clear statements to ensure the buyer can properly evaluate the business. You shouldn't share everything until the sale is through, but you want to keep the secret sauce to yourself. But the buyer will need to understand what they're buying if you expect to receive a price that properly values the business. Now, as I've touched on briefly already, after the sale goes through, you will need to expect to stay on for a while. If you're selling to a new therapist, you will need to help transition your clients to them. This will take time, especially in therapy practice. Your patients need a chance to understand that you're retiring, that the new therapist is someone you handpicked to succeed them, and you can give them a chance to warm up to the new person. This also gives you an opportunity to train the buyer. In a group practice, they will expect you to stay on until a proper process to transfer the clients can be done. That process will depend on the group and the experience they have with transitions. I would expect a year, though. There are 2 considerations you need to take as you sell and then after. On the financial front, you need a plan for the funds once you receive them, both to ensure you efficiently reduce the tax implications of the sale and so you know that the funds will be properly utilized in the years that follow. On the tax front, since you will likely be receiving cash, it's likely that it'll count as income. This is where the benefit of an installment payment plan comes to the fore, since you can spread out payments over many years, reducing what you pay to Uncle Sam. On the planning front, understand what the money will do and how it will be invested in the place it fits within your portfolio. There's value in speaking to a financial planner like myself that helps with this, since we can put the sale into the overarching plan and goals that you have. It'll show you how beneficial or not the sale will be. The worst mistake I see is someone that sells their private practice and they treat it like a windfall, but they don't have enough assets for the future. It can leave them wishing they never sold in the first place. Finally, the other aspect of life that you need to consider is what you will do after. For some, they know exactly what they want to do. For others, they may think they want to golf or live on the beach or volunteer every day. The reality of those decisions may differ when it's all you do. Do you have specific hobbies or interests you want to pursue? Do you want to write? Do you want to see a small group of clients? Know what you want. Make sure you have room to try some of it now so you won't be surprised when it's all you have to fill your time. Have you gone through the process of selling a private practice? What was it like? Let me know in the comments. This has been Thinking Solo, and I'll see you next time.